Welcome back to the tutorial on Hearts of Iron 4. In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about ideologies. So, there are four main ideologies in the game, as you can see right here. Gray is non-aligned, brown is fascist, red is communist, blue is democracy. Each ideology has certain inherent limitations to them. So, the ones that are freely able to go to war are the communists and the fascists. They can just go to war anytime they want, provided they have a justification. So they do need to have a justification or a war goal to start going to war, but they can go ahead and start to make a justification against any country right off the bat. So for instance, here is Italy. If I wanted to go to war with Spain right off the bat, I can go ahead and start justifying a war goal, saying, look, we want to take these islands from you. It's going to cost me 46 political points. It's going to take 230 days, but I can do it. And, it'll start counting down. And now we've got a justification to declare war on Spain. Now, other countries, particularly non-aligned countries and democratic countries, don't have this option. When they come into this page and they go, if I was France and I was to right-click on Spain and go to justify, this wouldn't be green, it'd be grayed out. Because they have a limitation that says they're not allowed to declare war on other countries unless that country has caused tension in the world. So, like different countries can do actions, like Italy just did a justification of war on Spain. So Italy actually just went ahead and increased world tension by 8.16 points for this justifying war on Spain. Germany increased it by 5 points by taking back the Rhineland. So countries that do things that cause tension can be declared war on by democracies, provided the world tension is at a certain level. So they have to have the tension at a certain threshold, and on top of that, the country that they're declaring war on has to have increased the world's tension somehow by doing some action. So that's the thing about democracies. The non-aligns, they typically don't have a limitation with respect to having only declaring war on countries that have increased world tension. They can declare war on anyone, but they don't have the ability to do it right away. Usually they have to wait until they get to like world tension level of 10 or 50 or 25. Certain focuses and things can adjust it, but I think the default is 50. So until the world tension level gets up to 50, a country like Poland, for instance, isn't allowed to declare war on anyone. They can't start justifying wars on their neighbors unless they've got a focus or something in them. It also impacts which countries you can guarantee. So when we go back into the political tab here, and the diplomatic tab, Italy can go ahead and let's go pick Germany for instance. We could justify a war on them. We could ask them for military access. We could offer them military access. We could ask them for docking rights or give them docking rights. We can try to improve relations. We could ask for a non-aggression pact. We could ask to join their faction. Now currently this big red X will tell us that no, they're not going to let us. We could try and negotiate the license to some of their technology so that we can produce German equipment in Italian factories. There's also an option to request Lend-Lease. Because we're at war, we can ask them for supplies. They can supply our war if we want. Now, as we have options, there's one here, guarantee independence. Now, because we're not a member of the faction, we're not allowed to guarantee their independence, but we can do it to other countries. So if I was to go over here and go to Venezuela, I can guarantee their independence. So the US has currently got them guaranteed as well, but as a fascist country, we can guarantee other fascist countries. And you can tell that they're a fascist country because they've got the fascist symbol right there. It also tells them, when you look, it's all brown, and it tells them, that, hey, they're fascist. Same thing with Peru. It's got the fascist symbol. They've got over half fascist, and they're a fascist government. So we can guarantee their independence. It would cost us 50 to do that. And the reason why is it costs 25 for each country increasing incrementally by 25 for each additional country. So as it happens, if we go back over to Italy and take a look at them, we are currently guaranteeing the independence of Albania already at start. So if we want to do another country, it's going to cost us 25 more. And if we did, let's say, Venezuela, and then we want to guarantee Peru, that would be costing us 75. So it's going to cost us another 25 on top. Now, what guaranteeing a country does is that when a country declares war on that country, you can be called and intervene on their behalf. So you basically can go to war with whoever is declaring war on them. And it's a way for you to get into a war. One thing to note is if you have a non-aggression pact against the country that is doing the declaration against that country, it doesn't matter. Non-aggression pacts only stop you from declaring war on them directly as an offensive partner, and the same with them. They can't declare war on you aggressively as an offensive partner. But if you're declaring war on a country in defense of them, that's a defensive war, not an offensive war. Non-aggression pacts don't apply to that. So if you had a non-aggression pact with Yugoslavia, for instance, and Yugoslavia declared war on Albania, because we guarantee them, Italy would be able to declare war on Yugoslavia to defend and could actually go in and take it. So sometimes it's useful to put guarantees out on countries. Not so much as a fascist power, because typically the fascist powers are the ones doing the invading, but for the Democratic Party countries, that's pretty much their main bread and butter. France, if we look at France here and right-click on them, they've got guarantees on Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia. So if you, as Italy, declare war on Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, or Romania, France could declare war on you. So just remember that if you think, oh, well, let's go beat up Yugoslavia, France could turn around and come back. Now, if Yugoslavia declares war on Albania and you intervene, France is not allowed to come into the war. It's only if you offensively go against Yugoslavia that the guarantee works. Just kind of like the non-aggression pact. If it's a defensive war, it doesn't trigger the other guarantees or things, because Yugoslavia is the aggressor in that case. If you happen to get into a war with them defensively, that doesn't open up the door for France to join. You'd have to actively do an offensive war against them, then they could intervene and attack you. So also note with France in particular, they actually drop the guarantee of, I think, these three countries. There's a focus they take called buy time that will happen, and it opens up Italy's options to go and declare war in Yugoslavia without having France go to war with them and starting World War II early. So yeah, that's a bit about that. You notice when we go into France, it's got the Statue of Liberty torch symbol. It's telling us they're a democracy. You can also see that they're majority of the population supports democracy, and they're democratic. Same thing when we go to England. It says, hey, look, it's democratic. They're democratic, mostly democratic. Non-aligned country like Austria has balance. Now, this is actually a funny one because the non-aligned group is called the Fatherlandish Front, which is actually a fascist organization, but they were not pro-German, so it doesn't consider them fascist, even though Germany or Austria actually has 50% of their population support the German Nazi party. They're still a non-aligned government, which kind of puts this guy in a bad place because he's leading a country that most of his people are actually supporting the fascists. It does make it easy for Austria to switch to fascism if they want to. To do that, they just have to go and get the advisor, from their flag and the fascist demagogue, and then that would open up certain decisions on the decision tab for them. Some diplomatic things will show up in here, like if you want to affect things like promises of peace, you want to increase your stability, you want to decrease your war support for that. You want to affect the amount of democracy in your country. So in Italy's case, Italy's internals, they have 22% support for the democratic groups in their country, and 76%. And you can see it over here. It's numbered right there. 22 and 76 support. So like 3/4 of the population support the fascists. If you want to get rid of these people, let's say you want to reduce the number of democratic support in your country, you can do that through taking this decision. So anti-democratic raids, you'll drop your stability by 10%, which will take you from 46 to 36, which is maybe not so good, but you do go up for the next 3 months, 0.7 stability per day. So basically 3 months times 4, 12 times 7, 12 times, is that right? 3 months, 4 months, 12 times 0.7, so 8.4 points it'll increase during that time. And the daily democracy support will go down for 0.5 per day each of that time. So basically you'll lower that support. That support will transfer to the others in a proportionate group. So you'll actually get more fascists out of it. They could, switch over to communist or switch over to non-aligned, but most of them will probably go to that. If you want to get rid of them all, once you get the democratic level below 20%, you can actually use this and it'll just get rid of them completely. But it does take a big hit in the space stability. You'll lose like 14.5 points of stability for doing that. You could ban the communists right now. It wouldn't cost you much stability. It'd be a 1.3, but it has a permanent effect of reducing communism support, which means that the other parties will go up a slight amount because the communists are basically being actively ejected out of the country. So that's some of the stuff about the diplomacy. You can't go to war with countries until you justify on them. Yeah, that's about the gist of it for that. So that's this video. Thanks. Bye.